Hello YouTube. We will look at Brazil today. Pedra do Inga in Paraíba and the mysteries engraved in that rock thousands of years ago. You see, there is a strange, massive stone located in the municipality of Inga in the interior of the Brazilian state of Paraíba, called the Inga stone or Pedra do Inga. The wall is about 50 meters long, almost 4 meters high, and full of engravings made at least 5,000 years ago, most likely before that. This is Pedra do Inga, an archaeological site located in the countryside of Paraíba, about 100 kilometers from João Pessoa and 40 kilometers from Campina Grande. The stone itself is massive. The rock formation covers an area of approximately 250 square meters. Listed in Brazil as a national heritage site in 1944, Pedra do Inga is the best example, the masterpiece of what Itacoatiara is. It's a word in Tupi, which means something like scratch stone. The Tupi people inhabited 3/4 of all of the Brazil's coast when the Portuguese first arrived there. In 1500, their population was estimated at 1 million people, nearly equal to the population of Portugal at the time. They were divided into tribes, each tribe numbering from 200 to 2,000 people. The Tupi were adept agriculturalists. They grew cassava, corn, sweet potatoes, beans, peanuts, tobacco, squash, cotton, and many others. There was not a unified Tupi identity despite the fact that they spoke a common language. Many indigenous people were important for the formation of the Brazilian people, but the main group was Tupi. Although the Tupi population largely disappeared because of European diseases to which they had no resistance or because of slavery, a large population of maternal Tupi ancestry occupied much of Brazilian territory, taking the ancient traditions to several points of the country. I wanted to let you know so you know a little bit about the area and about the people that inhabit Brazil. Now back to the strange stone. There are figures of different shapes, perfectly engraved in the gneiss, a type of rock formation that exists in the region and which also is present in other important places in Brazil, such as Sugarloaf Mountain in Rio de Janeiro. Some Brazilian researchers believe that Pedra do Inga is one of the most important archaeological sites in the world. They say that all over the planet we have records of engraved stones, and you know about Eurasia, Russia, other parts of Eurasia. You can look at my videos. Such stones are in Africa, the American continent, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. The Itacoatiara do Inga archaeological site becomes important due to the number of engravings it has, and also for the scenic beauty. These 2 points ended up transforming Pedra do Inga in one of the most important archaeological sites on the planet. And in Brazil, without a shadow of a doubt, Pedra do Inga is the most archaeological site with rock engraving, if only it was not vandalized. There are 3 panels of engravings, as well as marginal drawings. In total, the archaeological site has around 400 engravings made on the rock in the most varied forms. Looking at Pedra do Inga, one sees shapes that could be human, animal, and even planets. There are different interpretations of whose shapes there are. The stone is crowned with ancient petroglyphs, perpetuating the secrets of the past. These engravings, dating 3000 to 1000 before Common Era or older, represent an intriguing labyrinth of symbols and figures, shrouded in a veil of riddles and mysticism. Experts say the petroglyphs at Pedra do Inga are engravings of stars, whirlwinds, animals and people, crosses, and other designs covering the facade of this archaeological wonder. However, the true meaning of these symbols remains a mystery, causing controversy among researchers. There are several theories regarding the purpose of Pedra do Ingá. I would rather call them hypotheses. Some scholars consider it to be the altar of a ritual site, while others suggest that it is an ancient form of writing from an unidentified culture that inhabited these lands thousands of years ago. Most of the images appear abstract, posing a difficult translation task for researchers. For archaeologists, Pedra do Ingá remains a mystery of the past. Who were the creators of these symbols? What were their motives? Experts such as Denis Mota and Vanderlei de Brito suggest that the petroglyphs were the work of semi-nomadic communities who passed through the area over many generations, using stone chisels to carve symbols. Despite many years of research efforts, the mystery of Pedra do Ingá, it still remains unsolved. The lack of parallels for a comparison makes interpreting these symbols even more challenging. Their archaeological site continues to inspire the minds of scientists and curious people, riveted by the mystery of the ancient petroglyphs of Brazil. Its most prominent symbols depict stars, the Milky Way, as well as the constellation of Orion. Most glyphs etched on the massive stone represent animals, fruits, humans, and constellations, but also a plethora of yet unrecognizable symbols and images. In addition to the stars and spirals, ancient astronomers carved other entries whose exact meaning remain a mystery to experts. Well, like I said, so far the experts have identified more than 400 engravings on the stone surface. Some of them are zoomorphic in nature, again, while others represent abstract symbols as well as stars, planets. There are people and hypotheses that claim that the inscriptions made on Pedra do Ingá are similar to those on Easter Island in Chile, or even with the Phoenician designs. This is a hypothesis that indicates the petroglyphs of Ingá are exceptionally important from the archaeoastronomical point of view. There are various hypotheses. One states that the stone was engraved by the Portuguese and that inside it there is a treasure. This was one of the reasons why it suffered from vandalism for many years, as people in the region believed in it and ended up vandalizing the place in search of the treasure. And another myth or hypothesis, I think more like a myth, is that the woman who offered people, this woman who offered people a pot of gold. When you accepted it, she locked you inside the stone. Back in 1976, Spanish engineer Francisco Pavia Alemany began mathematically studying the archaeological monument. His initial results were published in 1986 by the Instituto de Arqueologia Brasileira. Alemany identified on the stone surface a series of bowls and another petroglyph etched into the vertical surface of the wall of Ingá that formed a solar calendar over which a gnomon projected the shadow of the first rays of every sun. Gnomon is an object, such as the style of a sundial, that projects a shadow used as an indicator. Alemany later continued studying this stone, but this time focusing on recording and documenting a series of symbols on the surface where the observer could identify petroglyphs reminiscent of stars that appear to have been grouped together in what appear to be constellations. But it is the coexistence of the bowls and like a bowl where you put milk in, and constellations on the rock surface, which gives the Pedra do Ingá its archaeoastronomical significance. The most prevalent hypothesis, and it goes beyond the borders of Paraíba, involves ufology. This is because of the perfection of the engravings, which are deep and well done. As a result, many people tend to attribute the drawings to beings from other planets. According to the local guide Antonio Marcos. This interplanetary hypothesis helps to publicize Pedra do Ingá. But although many questions about the site remain unanswered, science has already formulated consistent hypotheses about this archaeological site, which was created thousands of years ago. And of course, two scientists created by human beings. So how did Pedra do Ingá came to be? The answer to the mystery lies in gneiss, the type of stone that forms the archaeological site, which is not very hard. To understand this, one needs to remember the Mohs scale used to determine the degree of the hardness of minerals. The German mineralogist Friedrich Wilhelm Mohs assigned values from 1 to 10 to different minerals existing on Earth. Diamond, the hardest material that can scratch any other material, has a hardness level of 10. Talc, which can be scratched even with your fingernail, has a hardness level of 1. Gneiss is not such a hard rock, with a grade between 3 and 5. To scratch it, quartz pebbles, fragments were used, which exist within the Inga stream. Individuals took these pebbles with their sharp ends and began to chop the rock. They gave more or less the outlines they wanted to record. Then came the scraping process. Then the engraving was practically ready, and the deepening and polishing began. They did this with sand, water, and pebbles. It was kind of a primitive sandpaper. Brazilian scientist João de Souza Santos' theory or hypothesis that was tested and practiced by Denis Mota, trail driver, and archaeology researchers. A resident of Inga, he realized his passion for archaeology early on, still a child. The stone intrigued him. Which people would have done that? How would they have done it? It was something that never left his mind, he said. After reading many books, watching documentaries, and even rediscovering an archaeological site in the region, Dennis focused on the method used to make the engravings of Pedra do Ingá. He noticed that some archaeologists were already mentioning the process, but that no one had gotten their hands dirty, so to speak, to test and really prove whether this was how the inscriptions were made, he added. Dennis scoured the river and the land around Pedra do Ingá in search of rocks that were harder than gneiss, and he found quartz pebbles, hardness 7. He started hitting one stone against another and formed a capsule, which is the engraving that gives rise to all other shapes, a little hole. He tried it, he had patience and persistence. As he hit the rock, he got the result, which got better and better. So he formed the engraving through this perforation process. Then he took an abrasive material, which would be sand. He wet the stone, picked up the pebble again, and started rubbing it on the engraving. This reduced imperfections. As they got deeper, he did the third step, which is polishing. This explained something that intrigued archaeologists a lot, which is the question of the edges being perfect. Denis Mota, eco-trail driver and archaeology researchers, with this technique of experimental archaeology, Dennis proved the working method of the creators of Pedra do Ingá. All their people who has knowledge of the nature of minerals, they knew how to work each type of rock. There was no advanced technology to produce this Itaco atiaras, he explains. Pedra do Ingá. Do we take his explanations of this? It's up to you. Scientists do. But the question is, how really was it made? If the working method is known to researchers, it is not known for certainty how long ago the engravings were made. The terrain and climatic conditions of the region did not allow for tests that provide direct dating, but based on dating from archaeological sites in the surrounding area, researchers estimate that Inga's Itacoatiaras are between 5 and 7,000 years old. This estimate helps answer another part of the mystery. Who were the people who left those inscriptions? For João the Pedra do Ingá was engraved over decades, perhaps centuries, and by countless individuals. and due to the antiquity of the drawings, the authors of the inscriptions were not the same indigenous people that the European conquerors found in the area just 500 years ago, the Tupi and the Cararis. Most likely the human groups that made Pedra do Inga became extinct due to hunger, drought, wars. Those groups disappeared and others from other regions migrated there. That's the explanation of Juwandi. The researchers also said that there is a theory for one of the most important questions: why the drawings were made and what they meant. The answer lies in water, a valuable item in that part of the Paraiba countryside. In general, these cities are very close to riverbeds, and the human groups that lived there 5,000, 6,000 years ago already experienced a very severe water shortage. In Pedra do Inga, behind the panel, not in the area, they have the Bacamarte River, and in that river, they have cauldrons where you can accumulate water for 3 up to 5 years. So nothing more interesting than this group coming to the area and recording that in that place, even during the dry period. With the lack of rain, water could be found. This type of site, engraved on Iraqi supports, had this purpose, being a type of mapping. So this is according to the scientists. It's a very interesting part of Brazil. Let me tell you about the Secretary of Tourism in the area. I don't think he is still, but a few years he was. And he said this: he grew up on these stones, knowing them, seeing them, without having the slightest idea what they were about. His grandparents and parents did not know either. The person was Vava da Luz, Secretary of Tourism of Inga, a city with 18,000 inhabitants. It was only after leaving his homeland to work as a baggage handler in a hotel that Vava discovered the importance of Itaco Atiaras. A plane arrived and with it 40 European reporters who went to the hotel. He soon discovered that they were coming to Inga. He didn't understand what they were going to do there. And it was only in the early hours of the morning that the interpreter told him the European community sent these reporters to record one of the heritage sites of the humanity, one of the enigmas of humanity, which is Pedra do Inga, he reports. 3 decades later, Vava da Luz returned to live in the municipality, now holding the position of Secretary of Tourism. He found the city's main attraction converted into leisure tourism. The river near the archaeological site was used by residents as a bathhouse. So they started to transform this leisure tourism into educational tourism. Today, I think this was 2020, during the school period, they receive 2 or 3 buses daily. There are students not only for Paraiba, but from neighboring states, he said. In the 1940s, after a French researcher discovered that the surrounding rocks were being extracted to pave the street of João Pessoa, the National Historic and Artistic Heritage Institute of Brazil listed the monument. It was the first prehistoric archaeological site listed in Brazil. From then on, the great importance of the place should have been clear, but the authorities collapsed and forgot, according to Vava da Luz. Today, 40 hectares around the site are protected, and the former owners have already been compensated. A small museum and a cafe serve as a support for tourists who disembark daily, but basic things are missing, such as benches. Entry costs were 5 reals in 2020 and earlier, and a lot of was done through donations. The Paraíba Archaeological Park will be created there. Pedra do Inga is a potential source of income. Many states live on tourism, but there is a problem. This does not generate votes. Tourists who come to the site do not vote, so people are not very interested. But this could win votes tomorrow because it is a lever for the economy. It can generate employment and income. There is another reason that he points out. why Pedro do Inga is left out of the itinerary of many tourists and is little known nationally. The exclusive focused on the coast and the prejudiced against the interior. For people to discover Pedra do Inga, there is a need for better publicity, encouragement from managers, and also more signage. You come through and don't see any sign indicating Pedra do Inga. Even the city lacks this signage, and the government only advertises the coast, so there's already a prejudice against the interior in this sense, he reflected. I heard that the site really was being vandalized, but I don't know the extent. So where is Pedra do Inga and how to visit it? Well, Pedra do Inga is located in Paraiba, 110 kilometers from João Pessoa and less than 40 kilometers from Campina Grande. It fits perfectly on a day trip from either of the two cities or as a strategic pit stop on a trip between them. If you can visit it, Brazil has a special part in my heart. I've wanted to get there for decades, and I did. Over a decade and a half ago, I was doing lectures there, telling people about Soviet and Russian ufology, about Eurasian paranormal phenomena, about unidentified underwater objects, and much more. I won't go into the reasons. I know more about Brazil and studied it since basically my youth. But I was very happy to get there. I spoke some Brazilian Portuguese. I made myself learn some words, and it helped me. And a good dear friend, late researcher now of ufology, world-renowned A.J. Galvard, he helped me coming to Brazil, and his colleague, Brazilian ufologists. And I heard about this place I told you about today, but I didn't make it there. But I've been to some other places, and I yearn to go back one day to Brazil. There's so much in terms of paranormal phenomena, but just the country itself is beautiful. People, I love the people, I love the foods, I love the climate, and so much more. And if you have a chance to go see this stone, by all means do. In my other videos about Brazil, you can find them in my channel. You will find some information that was available, I think, mainly in Russia, if not only in Russia, but some of the secrets of Brazil, but also other information. And when I refer to secrets, I mean either paranormal or related nature. But there is more, and you can find out my videos about UFOs and so forth. So that's what I wanted to let you know today. Muito obrigado for supporting my channel and my research. And if you can do so, you'll find descriptions and so how to do it in the description to this video. Please tell others about my channel, and please like my videos. Muito obrigado, as they say in Brazil, or thank you very much.